Every single drug on the market, from the simplest over-the-counter painkiller to the most complex targeted oncology therapy, is monitored by a vast, global safety network. That network doesn't run on magic, it runs on data, and your role inside that network begins with a single case. This course is designed to prepare you to process individual case safety reports, or ICSRs, and decode medical terminology with MedDRA exactly like a working pharmacovigilance professional from day one. You won't just learn theory here. You'll learn the practical, day-to-day realities of case processing. We're going to cover the course roadmap, the various roles within a PV team, and exactly where case processing fits into the larger picture. Our big picture orientation today is about understanding why this work matters in the real world. By the time you finish this lesson, your outcome will be the ability to navigate any PV team structure with total confidence on your very first day on the job. You will understand where the data comes from, where it goes, and why your accuracy is the linchpin of patient safety worldwide. Case processing does not happen in a vacuum. It is deeply interconnected with every other function in a pharmacovigilance department. We can break this ecosystem down into 5 interconnected pillars. First is patient safety signal detection. Every ICSR you process is a critical data point in the global effort to detect emerging drug risks early. If you miscode a symptom, that signal might be lost. Second is the core of our work, ICSR case processing. This involves intake, triage, data entry, narrative writing, and submission. Third is MedDRA coding. This is the standardized terminology that allows us to translate unpredictable patient language into precise, regulatory-ready terms that authorities worldwide can understand. Fourth, we have regulatory timelines. Expedited 7-day and 15-day clocks govern serious reports, and missing these deadlines triggers massive compliance risks and potential audits. Finally, there are the PV team roles. Medical reviewers, case processors, and safety managers each own a distinct part of the chain. Your work feeds directly into theirs, meaning the entire ecosystem relies on your precision and speed. Let's look at the practical workflow, moving from the moment a report is received to its final regulatory submission. It starts with receive and triage. Here, you must confirm the validity and seriousness of the report. A case is considered valid only when 4 minimum criteria are present: an identifiable patient, a suspect drug, an adverse event, and an identifiable reporter. If any one of these elements is missing, the case is flagged for follow-up. It cannot advance. Once validated, we move to data entry, capturing those 4 minimum criteria in the safety database. Next is MedDRA coding, where you assign the correct preferred terms to the reported adverse events. Then, the case goes to medical review. A physician or trained medical reviewer will assess causality, meaning, did the drug cause the event, and review the narrative you've written. Finally, we submit to authority. The case must be filed within the strict 7 or 15-day regulatory deadline. This workflow is rigid for a reason. It ensures that every case is handled systematically, ensuring no safety data slips through the cracks. Let's walk through an operational scenario to see this in action. Imagine it's your first day, and a healthcare professional calls the safety hotline. A treating cardiologist reports that a 68-year-old female patient taking lisinopril 10 milligrams daily experienced throat swelling and was hospitalized overnight. Let's break down the fields. Patient, 68-year-old female. That's an identifiable patient, so the first criterion is met. Suspect drug, lisinopril 10 milligrams daily. The second criterion is met. Adverse event, her throat swelled up. You'll code this to the MedDRA preferred term, angioedema. Third criterion met. Reporter, treating cardiologist. This is a healthcare professional, meeting the fourth criterion and indicating we need to expedite. Seriousness, she was hospitalized overnight. This meets the regulatory definition of serious, so the 15-day clock starts immediately. As the case processor, you validate these criteria, enter the data, and code the event. The medical reviewer then assesses causality, writes the narrative, and approves the case. Finally, the safety manager confirms the seriousness and ensures the report reaches the health authority within 15 days. Everyone has a specific job to do, and the clock is ticking. In PV, we don't just hope for quality. we engineer it into the process. Let's look at what goes wrong and how to stop it. First risk, missing minimum criteria. If you enter a case without all 4 elements, the case is invalid and cannot be submitted, wasting time and resources. Prevention, always use a 4 criteria checklist at intake before opening a case record. Second risk, wrong MedDRA term. If you code throat swelling as a simple sore throat instead of angioedema, you've created a signal detection failure and invited a regulatory query. Prevention, always code to the most specific preferred term. Never use lowest level terms as a final code. Third risk, timeline breach. This leads to regulatory noncompliance and potential inspection findings. Prevention, set the clock on day 0 of receipt, not the date you finally get around to data entry. Fourth risk, role confusion. This causes duplicate work, missed steps, and accountability gaps. Prevention, always review your team's RACI matrix and SOPs before touching any live case. Knowing these pitfalls prevents you from making them. Let's review the key takeaways from this lesson. First, PV case processing is a heavily regulated, time-critical workflow. Every single ICSR connects patient safety directly to global regulatory reporting. Accuracy and speed are both non-negotiable. You cannot sacrifice one for the other. Second, your role fits inside a defined, interconnected team structure. Case processors, medical reviewers, and safety managers each own distinct, critical responsibilities. You must know your lane and own it before you work a case. Third, MedDRA coding and the 4 minimum criteria are your 2 absolute anchors. Without valid criteria, there simply is no case. Without correct MedDRA coding, there is no safety signal, rendering the data useless. You must master both from the very start. Before we move on to the next lesson, I want you to practice this. Find one publicly available ICSR form, like an FDA MedWatch or EMA SciMzi form, and identify the 4 minimum criteria fields on it. Note exactly where the seriousness criteria appear. This single habit will accelerate your intake and triage speed more than any lecture ever could. ###